5 signs that indicate that you are chosen. And these are signs that I saw in my own personal life, and I realized that I am chosen. I'm not an ordinary person. I am predestined for a mandate that God has called me for in this particular generation. And maybe you are also chosen and you had not yet realized that you are chosen. I hope these points will actually awaken you to this reality. Now, before we get to the points, you might be asking me, Sister Joy, what does it mean to be chosen? When you are chosen, it means that you were predestined for a particular assignment that you have to fulfill here on earth. Now, there are people that are called, right? And there are people that are chosen. People that are called are people who are called into something that was not their initial like we can see with in the Bible. I think it's Amos who says, I was not born a prophet. I was not even my father. I'm not, nobody in my father's house is a prophet, but I was called into this. So sometimes in life, God can call a person into being a pastor, into being a prophet, into being, these are not people who are born with that particular mandate. And we can see in the Bible, there are many chosen people in the Bible. They came to fulfill a specific matter. There was prophecy that were given about them. Even Jesus himself, he was chosen because he came to fulfill one particular assignment here, and he did just that. So when you are chosen, you have been predestined before birth. You have been predestined by God and ordained by God for a particular thing. That's why chosen people cannot be stopped, can never be shaken, because there's nothing a person or the enemy can do to stop that which God has placed inside of you, because it has been ordained from eternity. Okay, so number 1, there is something supernatural about your conception or birth. Let me tell you something. When you are chosen, when there is something supernatural about you, there must be something just out of this world about your birth or conception. And you can only find out this information when you actually sit down and have a conversation with your mother. And this is why I encourage people to sit down and ask questions about their past, the family, the lineage that they come from, so that you can be well acquainted with the kind of family that God has brought you into, so that you can know how to deal with family issues within that family, spiritual issues for that case. But you will only find out this information from your mother. Ask your mother, so how was I born? Was there anything weird? Did you experience any attacks? Like, were you barren? And we can see this in the Bible. There was definitely something extraordinary with Joseph, because Rachel had been barren, and Joseph was the first child that opened the womb of Rachel. So we know for a fact that Joseph was chosen. Jesus, on the other hand, was born of a virgin. That on its own, chosen. Samson, or rather Moses, when he was born, there was Pharaoh wanted to, kill young boys, Hebrew children, infants, in fact. So this is how then Moses was then put on the river, and then Pharaoh's daughter found him. Definitely chosen. Samson's mother had been barren for years. Okay? So when Samson came, chosen. John the Baptist, oh my God, Elizabeth was barren. And John the Baptist opened the womb of Elizabeth, chosen. Do I need to mention Samuel? We all know Hannah's story. Hannah's story, man, what a sad woman, crying and pleading the Lord to open her womb, only to realize that she was going to give birth to a chosen person, and his name was Samuel. So there's something supernatural about your conception or your birth. The second point, you live an isolated life. Now, there are people who choose to isolate themselves, okay? They choose not to talk to people. They choose not to be to socialize with people. And there are people who are just naturally like that. It's something that is, you are inherently, naturally isolated. You can't help but to be isolated. People overwhelm you. Crowded places overwhelm you. Personally, I struggle with crowded places, malls. I just can't. Please, like, Can I just stay in my room, please? Like, that's the only way I can survive. And we can see this with how Moses was isolated from his people in the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 15. We know that Moses grew up in the palace. He was surrounded by Egyptians, but he was isolated from his people. He would see that, I don't really look like these people. I look like those people who are slaves. So you are isolated. Your life is isolated. We can see with how Samuel also lived in the temple away from his family. Hannah had made a vow that, Lord, if you give me a son, I'll give him back to you. And because of this, Samuel grew up with the priest, the high priest, not with his family. So Samuel lived an isolated life. We can see this with John the Baptist, who lived in the desert until his day of manifestation. So you don't choose to isolate yourself. Just the way that God has designed you and created you, you are not someone that can be found in crowded places. Naturally, you just prefer to be by yourself. And in your head, you might think that it's just a preference. No, it's not a preference. Chosen people are just like that. They live isolated lives. You can't find them in the public. They are not social butterflies. Anybody who is a social butterfly and claims to be chosen, it's not consistent with scripture. Anything that is not consistent with scripture, we need to question it. Number 3, you are rejected by those you were sent to. Now, it is very important to understand, because mostly when people talk about chosen people, they will just say, no, you are rejected. Chosen people are rejected. No, it's not just rejected. You are rejected by the people you were sent to. Yes. Chosen people are not just rejected. They are rejected by the people that God has sent them to. And we can see this with how Moses was rejected by the Israelites. When he tried resolving the issue between the two Israelites that were fighting, they asked him, have you been made our deliverer? That's one of the reasons why he flew away. They rejected him. If Israel had accepted Moses earlier, they wouldn't have spent extra 30 years in Egypt as slaves. But because they rejected their deliverer, the one whom God had ordained, predestined to be the deliverer of Israel, because of that, this is how they ended up spending an additional 30 years in Egypt. And then we can see how Joseph was rejected by his brothers. Oh my God, they threw him in a pit. They wanted to kill him. They sold him as a slave, only to find out that this man was predestined by God to deliver nations when there was a famine that hit the entire world. Egypt was a place that sustained the entire world because of Joseph. The family later on was delivered and sustained because of Joseph. He was rejected by his own brothers, okay? Samuel was rejected by the nation of Israel. Remember, Israel never had a king. So the Lord ruled over Israel through the seer Samuel. And when they rejected him, he went to God and said, Lord, they have rejected me. And God said, no, they have not rejected you. They have rejected me. So you will always be rejected by the people that you are sent to. And this is something that I personally have experienced. My God, I know that God has sent me to the youth of my nation, but man, I don't think I'm in the good books of the youth of South Africa. And this is what we have to deal with when you are a chosen person. You will be rejected by the very same people that you have been sent to deliver. Okay, number 4, you have a big assignment beyond family. Okay, you are not just called to, to be the breadwinner of the family. Your assignment transcends family. It's not limited to family. You see, that's why you see with Joseph, he was not just sent to deliver his family from famine. It was the entire world. So we can also see with Esther. Esther was sent to deliver the entire nation of Jews. It was not just for her and Mordecai. It was for the entire nation of the Jews. So your assignment will always transcend family. It will transcend even your community. It will go beyond the borders. Sometimes you are even called to nations. It transcends even your own country, your own continent. So you have a very big assignment. It's not small, it's very big. And that is why the devil fights you the way he fights you. Last but not least, persecution. Oh my God. If you are chosen, persecution is your best friend. Ask me. This is something that I deal with on a daily. You will be persecuted everywhere. Now, I need you to understand there are people that face situations that they can easily deal with by rebuking the situation, by dealing with the situation with wisdom. That is not persecution. Experiencing misfortunes is not persecution. I'm talking about real persecution, okay? And we can see with how David's life was sought by Saul. No matter what he did, Saul wanted to end David's life. Do I need to mention Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den for no good reason? They sought for reasons for him to be killed. And they said, look, let's just use the fact that he's praying. Let's use that point against him. And this is what happened. He was thrown into the lion's den, in the lion's den, and by God's grace, that the lions did not eat him. Do I even need to mention the fact that Joseph's brothers, they said, let's kill him. They say, nah, let's put him in a pit. They say, no, let's sell him. Persecution. And this is not persecution that you even deserve. You didn't even do anything for this persecution. Because you are chosen, this persecution will find you. What about Moses? One of the reasons why Moses left is because they sought for his life. Okay, so you will experience persecution. Oh my God. How many times have I been insulted? How many times have I been called names? Oh my God. I've been made I've been ridiculed, okay? Persecution, persecution is going to be your best friend. If you are chosen, just accept it. This is why we see some of the men of God that are well known being persecuted left, right, and center. They are accused of things and all of that. There are scandals. Look, when you are chosen, there will be accusations that rise up against you. When you are chosen, people will even try to kill you. People will even try to put charm. Look, the enemy is using that persecution to try and stop that which God has placed inside of you, that it must not manifest. So if you have related to one or two things that I've written on this board, you might be chosen, and you need to ask God to reveal you to you. And another thing, chosen people don't really have to struggle with their purpose, because what God normally does, He shows you, He reveals it to you. He wants you to know that, look, you are not a normal person, you are different. And that's how I got to know that I am not a normal lady. I'm different from all other people because I have an assignment that is upon my life. Even if I wanted to live a normal life, I can't, okay? I can't. I've been bound by God. As Paul said, I am the Lord's slave, okay? I'm the Lord's slave. All right, so I hope this blessed you. My name is Sister Joy, the girl behind Jesus Joy. I hope that you have learned something from today's teaching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you have learned something. Join our 3 a.m. prayers. Command your day every day in the morning at 3 o'clock. Also join our Bible studies every Monday at 7 p.m. Central African Time. I love you all with the love of Jesus Christ. I will see you on yet another spiritual teaching. Shalom.